What is up, everybody, and welcome to another video. In today's video, I've got my Fox Knives Phi here, and we're going to be doing an unboxing, not of anything from Fox Knives, but of stuff from LDY. I have two very exciting packages from LDY here. I have a feeling I know what is in both of them, and I have a feeling we should save this one for last because I think it's the more exciting one. Obviously, it's a bigger package, but I have a feeling that this one might just be Frank. If you don't know about the LDY Frank, it's their entry-level sort of, like, oh, how do I put this? Like, nice, approachable-looking balisong. I think that's the idea behind Frank. And yes, it is, in fact, Frank. Very cool. I can see his face already. This is a, like, squiddy idea type of thing, except it's made of metal instead of being made of plastic, like the squiddies. So not as versatile in some ways, but more flippable at the same time. So that's kind of difficult. So, comes vacuum sealed like the rest of LDY's products, which I really like. I'm honestly a pretty big fan of them sending stuff in a vacuum sealed methodology. Also, we have a large selection of extra hardware, which I always love to see. LDY is honestly one of the best in the business in terms of like their included stuff in the box. This box is a very high quality box, so great product design, great job including all of this hardware. I mean, you can see there's multiple bushings included, there's multiple pivots, washers, all sorts of stuff, so that's lovely to see. And then we have Frank himself. This is a very interesting balisong. Ooh. So I'm not really going to be giving y'all my like flipping feedback today. I'm mostly going to be like unboxing and then giving you maybe some surface level stuff, but I do plan on playing with these and then doing a follow-up video later. Because I think that is worth doing. Frank is a very interesting design, though, because you have this really cute little face on there, obviously, and then you have this entire area for a false edge. So currently it is entirely a false edge, so there's no edge going on Frank whatsoever, but you can add an edge to Frank, so Frank doesn't have to only be a trainer. It can, in fact, be a live blade, but without a tip, which is pretty cool. I think that's a good idea. I think that increases its usability. I think that makes it useful for multiple things, but I will say that on my balisongs, the tip is one of the things that I use the most, because almost exclusively what I actually use my balisongs for cutting-wise is opening packages. Every once in a while I'll need to like cut a rope or something, but in general 90% of my usage is going to be cutting packages. So the actual flat side of the blade, ironically enough, isn't the part that I end up needing utility-wise. So I probably won't end up sharpening my Frank because I don't really have any reason to do so, but it's just an interesting feature, the fact that it can. I will say I don't have any lube right now, so I can't tell you what this is like after it's been tuned and lubed and stuff like that, so I will definitely need to make a follow-up, but I can say immediately it is weird. It's not bad by any means. I do like it, honestly, but it is strange. I am immediately noticing a weirdness in the way that it's carrying momentum through like aerials and stuff like that, and I'm sure that has partially to do with the fact that the pivots are relatively dry, but I think that this also has to do with the blade itself. There's a fair bit of tip weight because of Frank's face here, and that tip weight will create a strangeness in the balance and the way that this thing sort of swings and performs. Overall, comfort-wise, I'll say that this has all right comfort. It's definitely slippery in the hand. I'd say it's pretty similar to like how a Vulp feels in the hand. At the end of the day, it's not very grippy, all things considered. Tune-wise, it's fantastic out of the box. It has a very, very good tune out of the box. So that's very impressive. And yeah, overall, it is fine. I like it. I don't dislike it immediately, but I definitely feel like I wouldn't necessarily suggest this to somebody, at least from this very, very early try, as their first trainer. I wouldn't suggest this as your first trainer. I'd say there's a lot of other options. If you wanted to stick with LDY, the Orion is a better option than this for sure in terms of flippability. I can tell you that immediately. But In terms of construction, you can see it's got this like tsunami style faux channel construction that I think is awesome. I love that. That's great. It's not the most comfortable in the hand. It's got a lot of right angles that I think, or not right angles, but more like 45-degree angles, but those angles are kind of sharp, as you can see. I don't know if that comes across super well on camera, but you can definitely feel that in the hand. So it's not the most comfortable thing in the world, but it's not bad. But I definitely kind of feel it getting away from me in multiple ways as I'm flipping it due to the heft of that blade. But that might be alleviated just from a little bit more time flipping it, plus some lube on the pivots. Okay, so that is Frank. That's the less exciting of the bunch. And here is something else. So let's crack into this. I think I'm going to need that knife to open this up probably. Very cool. Oh, it's not there. It's probably right there. So I've got some LDY Band-Aids. Love the inclusion of the Band-Aids. That's such a really fun thing. We have the extra hardware, looks like. Yep, you've got 2 pivots, 4 washers, and some bushings. And that's awesome. That's really all you need. As the crying children downstairs get louder and louder. There's this thing. Ooh. Ooh. Hey, that's really cool. Are these different sizes? These all T10, 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 T10. That's pretty cool. So this appears to be a little screwdriver type thing. That's very cool. That's similar to, there's one that Benchmade has that is similar to this. It's not like the same in any way, but like that's a pretty cool design. I will test this at some point and let you know how that is, because that might actually be a really, really convenient way to bring a few bits with you. And like it looks like it could attach to a keychain. That's really awesome. That's a very, very cool tool right there. It's got the LDY logo and everything on it. It feels like it's made out of maybe nylon, if I had to guess, which is a pretty strong material, but that's really cool. I think that could get a little annoying rattling around on a keychain maybe. But overall, that's a very good idea. This is a very, very cool accessory to include. All right, so I think the knife is in here, wrapped up in there. So they also include a microfiber cloth, which is awesome. And then this is going to give it away, but look at this. Ooh, LDY Vixen. That's right, this is a Vixen. I'm so excited about this. I've wanted a Vixen. It's a V2 Vixen, too. Apparently there's an NFC chip on here. I'll have to check that out later. But yeah, this is a very cool anodized card. It looks like it is made out of titanium and is actually anodized with laser anodization and then anodized purple. Or maybe it was anodized purple first and then lasered, which would make more sense. But that's a very, very cool card to include. And then you have the classic LDY microfiber cloth and, ooh, my God, the Vixen. Holy cannoli, this thing is pretty. They asked me what kind of ano I would like, and I said if you could do a sunset, that would be amazing, and they freaking nailed it. Holy cow, that is a beautiful sunset ano. I love the way it turns like blurple right at the end there. That is so gorgeous. Wow. All right, so this is the Vixen V2, a very interesting balisong that I've not played with at all yet. I'm excited to try it out. The V1 Vixen was a very interesting balisong to me. It was beautiful, titanium channel handles. It had pins. This one is pinsless, so we'll see how that holds up. But yeah, ooh, the action is already really smooth. There's zero play out of the box, absolutely none. And man, it is gorgeous. I mean, let's look at this. The milling lines there are insane. That looks incredible. Same thing on this side. You've got this really, really gorgeous blade shape. I mean, LDY, I must say, has some of my favorite blade shapes overall. And this is up there. This is a really, really incredible one. And then the handles themselves are just beautiful. I mean, look at all those different textures. You've got these cutouts along the back that basically act as a speed channel. You've got this really interesting internal texture milling on there that I think is crazy cool. That's a very, very cool detail. And then the texture on the actual handles themselves is just magnificent. It feels kind of similar to how my Talisong feels. It's not too intense. It's not like grating like some things are, like the some of the scales from EDCK that were released for like the 51, the gunner grip scales. Those had too much grip, but this is really nice. And yeah, just from that immediate moment, ooh. Okay. I can immediately tell you that I do like how this thing flips. It definitely could use a little warming up out of the box. It's a little gummy out of the box, so it's going to need some time put on it, which I will definitely do, and I will report back with my findings once I've done that. But overall, I like the weight of this thing more than the Frank. This feels much more like a normal balisong to me, though it is tip heavy. Like or at least it feels like there is more weight in the blade in general, maybe making this thing a little more neutral. But it does, yeah, I mean, it's pretty standard balance-wise, honestly. If you look at that balance point, that is pretty normal. So, yeah, I don't know. It's a little gummy. I think it's going to need some lube, so I'm going to throw some carbon honey on this thing, and I think that'll do really well. I have a feeling that'll make it feel fantastic. But overall, immediately out of the box, I can say I like it a lot. We will very much have to see how the pinsless design holds up. I'm honestly a little disappointed that this thing has, or is on a pinsless design. I kind of wish that they just rehashed the same, inserted pins that they did previously. But hey, pinsless is the new big thing, so, we'll see how it goes. It does at least have a Zen pin nipple, which means that there is physical stuff in the way. So the biggest downfall of pinsless systems previously is that we tried to get rid of the Zen pin nipple entirely and just had a flat face on this side. And because of that, the flat face, you only needed to lose a very small bit of material from the titanium before the handles would slap together. And so when you include something like this where it has a Zen pin nipple, and thankfully you can also see it's got a little bit of a thigh gap, but it's really not bad. Like the starting handle gap here is honestly very normal with most of the balisongs I've ever tried. I've got to say, it feels pretty good in the hand. I really like the texture. I really like the weight. I think it's a nice feeling balisong. It has a great sound too. It's got this very nice, like, light ring to it. And the blackened blade with these bright anodized handles is really cool. I've got to admit, they freaking nailed the colorway on this thing. I had no idea what would show up, and this is beyond my expectations, certainly. So yeah. I don't know. Very interesting stuff. I love to see what LDY is cooking up. Unfortunately, their stuff is a little bit weird because they aren't... They're a company similar to Maxace in the way that they sort of make a product, make a bunch of it, release it, and then they never make that product again. So, like, if you like the look of the Vixen V2, well, you better get one because it'll be gone, soon enough. And that's just kind of the way that they work. And I don't think that's a bad way to run a company. If anything, it kind of is interesting because, like... Ooh, excuse me. Oh, breathed in something weird. It's kind of a good way to run a company, especially in the balisong game, in some ways, because, like, one of the problems manufacturers have is steadily maintaining sort of interest in their products. And so, like with Squid Industries, they have quite a few product lines at this point. Each product line sort of pointed at a different solution, and they're constantly innovating on those product lines. So they are like releasing, there's V4s and V5s nowadays where we're deep into the iteration on these product lines. And I think that's a great thing. I think it's good to improve in that way, but it also is a challenge for the business because every time you add something to the product line, if the expectation is that you will continue to have all of your product line available all the time, well, that makes everything really difficult. And so with a company like Squid Industries, they have so many different SKUs and so many different products that they have to keep in stock and manage and drop all the time. Whereas somebody like LDY or Maxace, they make maybe, one or two of a product, and that's just kind of it. And that's, or one or two runs, I mean. And that style means that they don't have to worry about keeping so much stuff in stock. And on top of that, it also means that their product line is continuously fresh. There's always something new from the company. And even though, it's limited, that also means that because it's limited, there's more of a reason to buy it. So I would say that style is simultaneously somewhat harmful to the end consumer in the sense of like not everybody who wants one can get one, but it does create a better secondhand market because, well, in the sense of the people who are selling it get more money off of it because of the scarcity. And then on top of that, it creates a stronger base for the company overall because they're constantly innovating and making new things. And as long as they can keep up with that level of quality, which I think LDY has kind of shown that they can, uphold this level of quality and release good products kind of continuously. And so when they release a new thing, people are disappointed that the old thing is gone because it was good, but also they're excited about the new thing, generally speaking. Whereas like Maxace does release good products, but their balisongs in general are usually, when they hit, they really hit. They have had some absolute bangers, but when they miss, they really miss. They've made some wacky balisongs that just don't really have any reason to exist in my mind. And I'm not knocking that. I love that. Personally, I'm very happy that Maxace is so experimental and creating new stuff that nobody has tried before all the time. I think that's freaking fantastic. But I think LDY has a slightly better track record, at least so far, in terms of continuously releasing products or at least creating ideas for products that people actually want to purchase, if that makes sense. So LDY seems to be doing that, pretty well. Companies like MachineWise is a good example of a company that struggled from the previous aforementioned sort of standard ideology that Squid Industries implements, where it's sort of like they're acting as a retailer instead of like LDY, I think, is acting more like a high fashion brand might act. So like Squid Industries is acting like they're a retailer. They're trying to keep things in stock. They're trying to make sure that you can buy the products that you want. Whereas LDY is coming out with new fashion all the time. And, you either get on the latest train of that fashion or you miss it and you have to buy secondhand at crazy prices. And so there are benefits and negatives to both, but one of them is definitely more pro-consumer, which is what the Squid Industries method, and one of them is slightly more anti-consumer, which is the LDY method. But at the same time, I don't think it's like when I say anti-consumer, I just mean in the literal sense of like it is slightly worse for the consumer and not necessarily in like a LDY is evil kind of way. I think that's a real oversimplification of it. But yeah, I don't know. I am impressed with what LDY is doing, and I am thankful that they do have the methodology they do because it leads to innovation. You get some really interesting and innovative products out of these companies that are continuously outputting new stuff. As I talked about with MachineWise, they had the problem of having to, they made the Prisma, they made the Prisma Pro, they made the Serif, they made all sorts of stuff, and their product line was starting to get really inflamed, and they couldn't keep up with it. They couldn't produce each one of those different models at the rate that people were wanting them. And so it was causing sort of a chokehold on the company itself. And so that's what led to Dalen and the rest of MachineWise cutting basically their entire product line, other than the Serif. They got rid of literally everything and then went back from the drawing board and made the Tottery and the Saucery. And both of those, are fantastic balisongs. And so I think it is good to see MachineWise do that. I don't know if they're going to continue keeping like all of those products in stock or if they're going to move to a method closer to what LDY and Maxace do. I think it would be very interesting to have an American company that sort of has that mentality that LDY and Maxace does. But at the same time, yeah, I don't know. So anyways, that's pretty much it. I can tell you right now, after flipping it a little bit longer, I do already really like the Vixen V2. This thing is already fantastic. So yeah, definitely look forward to a follow-up where I sort of go over everything that I like and dislike about it. But I will say pretty immediately, I am impressed with this thing as long as the functionality of it does not get destroyed because it is, well, let's be honest, a pinsless system that might just destroy itself over time, which would be very unfortunate. Also, one thing I did notice is that the thigh gap on Frank is hilarious. Like, you can see it's way larger than the Vixen, and I like, Frank isn't even pinsless, so I don't know why Frank has a crazy thigh gap, but, you know, that's just how it goes sometimes. Yeah, you know, take your pick. What do you like? It's some people like it. Bye.